Hello racing fans, welcome to episode 19, part 2 of the big Group 1 racing show for the racing season of 2016/17. Now in part 1 of episode 19 I previewed the two Sydney Group 1s that are happening this Saturday in the Canterbury Stakes and the Randwick Guineas. If you haven't checked that out, then go check that out after this episode, part 2 of episode 19, and this is where I'm going to be previewing the Group 1 Australian Guineas, which is taking place at Flemington this Saturday. A huge race along with the other Group 1s happening this weekend. So let's not muck around, let's get straight into previewing the Australian Guineas, the race for 3-year-olds. So of course the Group 1 Australian Guineas will be ran at Flemington over the 1600 metre journey on Saturday the 4th of March. Of course, the race will be starting at 4:30 p.m. and where better else to watch it than your favourite racing free-to-air stations in Seven and Racing.com. Both do a very good job at covering racing, especially in Victoria. Of course, Sky Racing 1 also does a good job as well. They're the pay TV option, of course, and you can see there Haydock is the favourite to win the Australian Guineas at around $3, close to $4 actually. Divine Prophet is the next best at $9.50. Birch at $12 along with Attention. Morton's Fork, you might get good value out of Morton's Fork. $13 is the odds that Morton's Fork is at. Prized Icon at $14, as well as The Answer, my friend, who is actually an emergency, by the way. You then have Spheric at $18, Harlow Goals at $19, Legless Verbs also at $19. Land of Plenty, who was scratched from the Randwick Guineas to take place in the Australian Guineas, is backed at $20, as well as Sosibon, an inside agent, who is, Sosibon is at $21 and Inside Agent is at $31. Oak Door at $51. $61 you have Red Double. Anium at $71. You then have Smithson at $91. Throstle at $101. And then finally we have Hardened, who is the emergency, who if it doesn't get a place in this race, will run in the Randwick Guineas, is backed at $151. So that is the Australian Guineas field for 2017. Okay, on now to having a look at the Australian Guineas field in depth, and I start with number 1, Prized Icon, a James Cummings trained horse. Dean Yendall will take the ride if it does end up running in the Australian Guineas. Of course, I did mention this in part 1 of episode 19. If Prized Icon doesn't run in the Randwick Guineas, it will run in this race, the Australian Guineas. It is all dependent on whether the Randwick Guineas actually goes ahead this Saturday or not. Of course, weather is suggesting that it will be postponed, and if that's the case, then Prized Icon will take part in the Randwick Guineas and not the Australian Guineas. That's what I'm hearing anyway. But if the Randwick Guineas does go ahead on Saturday, then Prized Icon will run at Flemington on Saturday. So it is currently in Melbourne, as I got told apparently. So it's ready to go if it does run on Saturday. It was a nice return in the Hobartville. 6 out of the 9 horse field in that race. Has won over the 1600 metre distance before. It is undefeated at Flemington from its only one run, which of course was in the Victorian Derby last year during the Melbourne Cup Carnival. So look, I think it's in this. I think it's got a little bit of roughy status about it considering the odds it's at. Number 2, Divine Prophet, a Michael Wayne and John Hawkes trained horse. It's coming out of barrier 10. Dwayne Dunn stays on board, and it came 9th in the CF all stakes in its last start. That was the first Group 1 of 2017. Back up against its own age group, which is going to be good for it. And it will be its first visit to fabulous Flemington. But look, it come first in the Caulfield Guineas, and it's right in this, especially now that it's back against its own age group. Number 3 is Birch, and this horse is coming out of barrier 4. Mark Zara is aboard as the jockey, and look, it belted home in the Guineas last prep to come second to Divine Prophet in that race. It was well back in the field last start. It just didn't really look great from my point of view. It's only won 1 at Flemington from its 5 stars at the track, and it has not won over the 1600 metres. But look, you can't rule out, considering it's in amongst its own age group. And yeah, I'm a bit concerned though, because I didn't think its CS Hayes run was quite what we're used to seeing from this horse. So look, it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. I'm not sure whether it can be up there to win, but it was a good run in the Caulfield Guineas last year, and that's kind of keeping me from not saying that it is not a chance, because I think it is. Number 4 is the favourite, Hey Doc, a Tony McAvoy trained horse. Luke Curry keeps the ride. It's coming out of barrier 2. It's coming off 2 great runs leading into this. They have been very, very good wins. Good races, sorry. It won its last race in the CS Hayes over the 1400 metres at Flemington. Was beaten by Morton's Fork over this distance at this track, and that was last year. So look, that's a little bit of a factor you've got to play into that. If it was beaten by Morton's Fork, who is going to be in this race at Flemington over 1600 metres, then you have to kind of look at that and say, could it be beaten by Morton's Fork? But look, it is the one to beat. It is the favourite. It's been in great form. It's probably been in better form than last prep, and can't rule it out. You got to put it in your top 3, I reckon. Number 5 is Morton's Fork. John O'Shea is the trainer. It's coming out of barrier 19, which is a pretty wide sort of barrier, to be honest. Craig Williams is aboard as the jockey, and look, it looks likely to finish second until caught by Molassie and Land of Plenty last start. It did beat Hey Doc last year over this 1600 metre distance at Flemington. So, like I mentioned just then, Hey Doc was beaten by Morton's Fork at Flemington over 1600 metres. So, look, comes second in the Carbine Club at Flemington over the 1600 metres in its last year's Flemington run. So, look, it's a roughie, I think, and in the mix. Number 6 is Attention, a Peter and Paul Snowden trained horse. It's coming out of barrier 11. Brett Preble is the jockey, and it came 4th in the Futurity last week at Caulfield. Was one of the front runners early in the race last start. It, however, eased off late. Back in amongst its own age group, is visiting Flemington for the first time, hasn't won over the 1600 metre journey, but I did like its Futurity run. I think it wasn't too bad considering it was running, considering the horses it was running against. So look, it has some claims, there's no question about it. Number 7 is Oak Door, a Robert Smurden trained horse. It's coming out of barrier 18. Damien Lane is the jockey, and it's coming into this with a good last start win at Caulfield. However, this is a tougher race. First time running 1600 metres, but it did win the Autumn Stakes over the 1400 metres at Caulfield last start. And its last 2 races at Flemington has come 4th and 1st. That was earlier this prep. So, guess you can't rule out, but this will be a much tougher race than its last start. Number 8 is So Sibon. Robbie Lang is the trainer, and Damien Oliver keeps the ride. It's coming out of barrier 17, has a win range of only 1200 metres. And look, it came 4th in the Victorian Derby, which was a very, very promising race, that one. It is rated as a promising colt, but hasn't really won since Pakenham last September. So, look, you can't rule out, I don't think, but I'm probably not selecting it in my top 4 or 5 horses to place in the top 4 or 5 in this race. Number 9 is Anaheim, and this horse came third in its last start over the 1400 metres. It's only won 2 from its 22 starts. So look, I don't think this horse has the required form and win range to actually win this race and be up the front. I think I'm going to pass. Number 10 is Throstle, a Kieran Maher trained horse. It's coming out of barrier 8, and Luke Nolan is the jockey. Basically retains the ride from its last start, where it came 11th out of the 14 horse field in the C.S. Hayes Stakes on a good 3 track at Flemington. Comes back to Flemington, and look, I think this might be a little bit too tough. Number 11 is Inside Agent, and this horse is coming out of barrier 16. Brad Ruller is the jockey, takes the ride from Huey Bowman, who rode this horse to a 5th place in the C.S. Hayes Stakes over the 1400 metres. It came 8th before that at Caulfield, and it did win over the 1400 metre journey of Flemington in October last year. It only has a win range of 1400 metres, so it hasn't won over the 1600 metre distance before. It is an impressive horse though, and look, if everything goes right for this horse, then maybe it might be up there. That's if everything goes right, however. Number 12 is Smithson, and this horse is coming out of barrier 5 and comes 7th in the Autumn Stakes over the 1400 metre journey at Caulfield in its last start. It was a struggle run, and look, it's capable of much better, I reckon. It's no question about that. Might be a little underrated in this race as well, because I think if you go back through the form, it's not actually too bad by this horse. Could be a threat if it runs better than its Autumn Stakes run last start. Number 13 is Land of Plenty, and this horse has been scratched from the Randwick Guineas to run in the Australian Guineas at Flemington on Saturday. This horse is coming out at barrier 15. Stephen Arnold is the jockey. It came 3rd in the C.S. Hayes, which wasn't a bad performance over the 1400 metre journey at Flemington. Came 9th in the Caulfield Guineas over the 1600 metres. Has run well over the 1600 metre journey before without actually winning, so that's a good sign. Look, it could be an each-way claim, I reckon, at the odds it's at. Number 14, Harlow Gold, and Regan Bayliss keeps the ride. It's coming out of barrier 7 in the Australian Guineas. Was a solid finish last start in the Vanity. It had the 2nd fastest 400 metres, and look, it's likely to be back early, but should be finishing strongly in this race. So look, has consistent form at Flemington, and I think this horse could be up there in the top 6. Number 15, Legless Verbs. Stuart Webb is the trainer. Caitlin Mallion is the jockey, and it's coming out of barrier 6. It was favourite last start, but had issues and missed a place in the Vanity. Came last in only run over 1600 metres. And look, it can run and improve from its last race in this. It could be a roughie because it is at I guess, rather large odds considering its odds in its last start. Number 16, Spheric, and this horse should be in the top 6 or 7 if it goes anything by its last run in the Kev Hayes Stakes over the 1200 metres at Caulfield. It can produce big finishes, and look, it steps up 400 metres from its last run. I think it's a tougher race, but I think this horse might be in amongst it maybe if it produces a very big finish. Number 17 is The Answer, my friend. This horse is an emergency, but is up there in the top 10 of favourites in this race, or top 5 rather in this race's favouritism. Robert Smithson is the trainer. It's coming out of barrier 9. Did win its last race, and look, it has won over the distance before. First visit to Flemington, but it should be around the front early, and well, it may have some promise in this race. Number 18, Red Double, a Michael Wayne and John Hawkes trained horse. It's coming out of barrier 13, and well, it came from Sydney to debut in Melbourne last start at Caulfield. Had fast final 400. So look, this is a tougher race, however, and but fourth in the Autumn Stakes, not too bad. It is an emergency though, so at this stage unlikely that it will get a start. Finally, number 19 is Hardened, and this horse is running in the Randwick Guineas. If it doesn't end up running in the Australian Guineas, of course it is an emergency, so if a spot doesn't open up and 3 horses don't get scratched, then this horse will be running in Sydney. It's coming out of Barrier 1, and look, it comes 6th in the CS Hayes Stakes. I think this race is a lot tougher than that race though, considering the position it ended up in that race. But 6 is not so bad in the CS Hayes Stakes. Okay, time now for my tips, and I'm going to tip Morton's Fork to win the Australian Guineas for 2017. This is a real risk, I reckon, because well, Haydock is the favourite, but the reason why I'm going Morton's Fork is because it has beaten Haydock at the distance at this racetrack. I know things don't happen more than once sometimes, but I think Morton's Fork, it was an okay run in the CS Hayes Stakes, 4th over the 1400 metres there at Flemington, and look, it's won at the 1600 metre distance as well. That's something Haydock hasn't done. So look, Barrier 19, that's the risk, is you know, it's coming from Barrier 19, but I'm going to tip it. I'm going to take a bit of a punt here and go Morton's Fork to win the Australian Guineas. Haydock is second. For me, I think this horse is in great form, and I can't believe I'm tipping against it, but I'm going to do that. You would have thought I would have learnt my lesson last week when I tipped against Catchy, but no, I haven't. I'm going to tip against the favourite and put Haydock at second. And then third, I'm going to go for third. I'm going to go Divine Prophet. I think this horse had a marvellous win in the Caulfield Guineas last year during the carnival, the spring racing carnival. CF4 Stakes was a good returning point, you know, up against other ages, etc. But back at your own age group, Dwayne Dunn, you know, keeps the ride. I think it's going to flash home in this race, and I think it's just going to come third, but geez, I wouldn't be surprised if this horse wins it. I think this horse is a very, very good horse. So Divine Prophet, third for me. And my roughies of the race, I am going to go 2 in the Australian Guineas since it's a large field. I've gone Prized Icon if he does run. Look, he's undefeated at Flemington after one run, and that was in the Victorian Derby, and that was a Group 1 race. So look, it wasn't too bad of a run in the Hobartville. I think it's got a chance to do well in this race. It could even win. Who knows? That's why I'm tipping it as one of the roughies. The other roughie is Attention. This horse I thought was really good in the Futurity, considering the different sort of ages it was up against. And look, it led from the front. It led from the front early, I think, and you know, was up there for a considerable amount of time until it got caught down the straight. So look, it will be up in amongst it early again. It could be one of the front runners. It should be one of the front runners. That's what the speed map is suggesting. And could be hard to catch. It could be down the finish and going strongly and could end up in the top 3. Who knows? So Attention is my other roughie for the Australian Guineas of 2017. Really looking forward to this race, as well as the Randwick Guineas and also the Canterbury Stakes. And that is it for episode 19 of the Big Group 1 Racing Show. Thank you very much for watching, and I cannot wait for this Saturday's Group 1 action. 2 in Sydney, 1 in Melbourne. It is going to be 3 great Group 1 races to watch. Of course, don't forget to like, comment, share this video, and don't forget to subscribe. Of course, I'm back with another episode of the Big Group 1 Racing Show next Friday. Super Saturday next Friday. There's 2 Group 1s at Flemington and 1 Group 1 in Sydney. It is going to be a really good, another really good day of racing next Saturday. Australian Cup Day is one of probably the biggest meetings of the year. It's definitely one of the big race meetings of the early part of the year. So I'm really looking forward to Super Saturday. Of course, the Newmarket Handicap features as well. And look, I'd also invite everyone to comment down below their thoughts on this Saturday's racing. Of course, everyone has different opinions, so I'd like to know what you think is going to happen in the 3 Group 1s this Saturday. The 2 Guineas races, the race for 3-year-olds, and of course the Canterbury Stakes. So until next Friday, I'm Jacob. Hope you back a winner. Bye for now.